Hello everyone, welcome to the channel. The topic of the story is
The Tail Rabbit. Once upon a time there were 4 little rabbits, and their names were Flopsy Florentina, Mopsy Matilda, Cottontail Clara, and Peter Pierre. They lived with their mother, Madame Lapine, in a sandbank underneath the root of a very big fir tree. "Now, my dears," said old Madame Lapine one morning, "you may go into the fields or down the lane, but don't go into Monsieur McGregor's garden. Your father, Jean-Baptiste, had an accident there. He was put in a pie by Madame McGregor. Now run along, and don't get into mischief. I am going out." Then old Madame Lapine took a basket and her umbrella and went through the wood to the baker's. She bought a loaf of brown bread and 5 currant buns. Florentina, Matilda, and Clara, who were good little bunnies, went down the lane to gather blackberries. But Pierre, who was very naughty, ran straight away to Monsieur McGregor's garden and squeezed under the gate. First he ate some lettuces and some French beans, and then he ate some radishes, and then, feeling rather sick, he went to look for some parsley. But round the end of a cucumber frame, whom should he meet but Monsieur McGregor? Monsieur McGregor was on his hands and knees planting out young cabbages, but he jumped up and ran after Pierre, waving a rake and calling out, "Stop, thief!" Pierre was most dreadfully frightened. He rushed all over the garden, for he had forgotten the way back to the gate. He lost one of his shoes among the cabbages, and the other shoe amongst the potatoes. After losing them, he ran on 4 legs and went faster, so that I think he might have got away altogether if he had not unfortunately run into a gooseberry net and got caught by the large buttons on his jacket. It was a blue jacket with brass buttons, quite new. Pierre gave himself up for lost and shed big tears, but his sobs were overheard by some friendly sparrows, who flew to him in great excitement and implored him to exert himself. Monsieur McGregor came up with a sieve, which he intended to pop upon the top of Pierre, but Pierre wriggled out just in time, leaving his jacket behind him, and rushed into the tool shed and jumped into a can. It would have been a beautiful thing to hide in, if it had not had so much water in it. Monsieur McGregor was quite sure that Pierre was somewhere in the tool shed, perhaps hidden underneath a flower pot. He began to turn them over carefully, looking under each. Presently Pierre sneezed. Curtiscou. Monsieur McGregor was after him in no time, and tried to put his foot upon Pierre, who jumped out of a window, upsetting 3 plants. The window was too small for Monsieur McGregor, and he was tired of running after Pierre. He went back to his work. Pierre sat down to rest. He was out of breath and trembling with fright, and he had not the least idea which way to go. Also, he was very damp with sitting in that can. After a time he began to wander about, going lip-pity, not very fast, and looking all round. He found a door in a wall, but it was locked, and there was no room for a fat little rabbit to squeeze underneath. An old mouse, Mademoiselle Musette, was running in and out over the stone doorstep, carrying peas and beans to her family in the wood. Pierre asked her the way to the gate, but she had such a large pea in her mouth that she could not answer. She only shook her head at him. Pierre began to cry. Then he tried to find his way straight across the garden, but he became more and more puzzled. Presently, he came to a pond where Monsieur McGregor filled his water cans. A white cat, Minette Blanche, was staring at some goldfish. She sat very, very still, but now and then the tip of her tail twitched as if it were alive. Pierre thought it best to go away without speaking to her. He had heard about cats from his cousin, little Benoit Lapin. He went back towards the tool shed, but suddenly, quite close to him, he heard the noise of a hoe. Rich, scratch, scratch, scritch. Pierre scuttered underneath the bushes. But presently, as nothing happened, he came out and climbed upon a wheelbarrow and peeped over. The first thing he saw was Monsieur McGregor hoeing onions. His back was turned towards Pierre, and beyond him was the gate. Pierre got down very quietly off the wheelbarrow and started running as fast as he could go, along a straight walk behind some blackcurrant bushes. Monsieur McGregor caught sight of him at the corner, but Pierre did not care. He slipped underneath the gate and was safe at last in the wood outside the garden. Monsieur McGregor hung up the little jacket and the shoes for a scarecrow to frighten the blackbirds. Pierre never stopped running or looked behind him till he got home to the big fir tree. He was so tired that he flopped down upon the nice soft sand on the floor of the rabbit hole and shut his eyes. His mother was busy cooking. She wondered what he had done with his clothes. It was the second little jacket and pair of shoes that Pierre had lost in a fortnight. I am sorry to say that Pierre was not very well during the evening. His mother put him to bed and made some chamomile tea, and she gave a dose of it to Pierre, 1 tablespoonful to be taken at bedtime. But Florentina, Matilda, and Clara had bread and milk and blackberries for supper.
Thank you very much for watching the video. See you soon with a new video. Take care of yourself. Bye bye.